Tell us who you are and what you're running for and a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Bobby Cole. I'm running for governor. I'm 56 years old. I've been a lifelong farmer, come from farmers. My dad lives with me. My mother's passed away from Alzheimer's. But I'm a father and a grandfather and husband to Kim. And like I said, I'm a cattleman. I raise chickens. I'm also a firefighting lieutenant, retired from the city of Plano, Texas. And I'm just an ordinary, everyday working Texan, just normal.
So a little bit more diving into that. What were you doing before you decided to jump into a campaign? What was a typical day for Bobby?
Well, I was probably in a tractor most days. And then when I wasn't in a tractor, I was probably catching cows and fixing fence because they're always, the proverbial grass is always greener on the other side. So the cows keep me on my toes.
Right.
But other than that, it was a lot of times in the afternoons going and getting the grandkids and taking them fishing and just doing grandparent stuff. So that's
living on the farm.
That's really my favorite thing to do is grandparent time.
Right.
So that's just been my life.
Right.
That's sort of why I'm running, is because I just don't think working Texans and working families are the center of this government. And so I think it's time that somebody that comes from us goes and fights for us.
What was the key moment for you that was the deciding factor? I'm jumping in and there's no turning back.
Well, there wasn't a moment. It was the end of a month-long depression after Trump got elected. And then I seen immediately Project 2025 started to come down. And Elon Musk was running around. He was really pissing me off. Going around telling hardworking people, you need to justify your job and all these benefits that you paid in and you earned. But a lot of y'all are waste, fraud, and abuse. And so he had the chainsaw dancing around on stage. That if anybody's had to work hard for a living and had the banker or the lawyer come by and tell you that you need to justify what you do for a living and tell me how hard you're working, that makes you mad. Mm-hmm. And I come from a long line, I told you, of working class people, that union people that took pride and got a lot of who they were and their values from not only work but hard work. And so when somebody starts coming by and questioning your integrity and your motives, it makes you mad. And then I've got kids and grandkids. Mm-hmm. And to go back to when Trump got elected, I know an authoritarian when I hear and see one.
Right.
And so I've busted my butt my whole life to build a legacy. And that's that farm. Mm-hmm. My granddad, a long time ago, and he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to my dad and my uncle. But he told them, if a guy could ever get 100 acres paid for and have 100 cows paid for, you could make a living running cattle. You'd have to rent some land, but you got that paid for, you could make a living at it. Well, that's not true. In 1974, it might have been true.
Right.
But it's not true now. Mm-hmm. And so I was at the fire department, best job I ever had, best pay I ever had, best benefits I ever had. But I didn't want to stay there until I was 60 years old or older, because I still had a dream of building a farm that could actually, somebody could make a living at, sustain themselves off of. And that's what I wanted to leave to my kids and grandkids. Yeah. And so I left the fire department at 48 because I said, I got to get out of here while I still have spring in my step and steel in my spine, and finish building it. And I knew that legacy was at stake with Trump being president. And then our overarching legacy that we've all been given, our democracy, was at stake. And so getting pissed off about Elon, and then a month coming out of my depression, I seen people doing the No Kings marches. We went and participated in a couple of them, and you started to feel agency again, that you could do something about it. And at the time, nobody was getting into this governor's race. And this sounds egotistical, but I thought, if lightning could strike, I hadn't seen anybody run for governor that comes from where I come from with the working class background I had. And if you could, Abbott wins all his terms out in that sea of red, rural Texas. Mm-hmm. And if you could find somebody with the background, the history, and the voice that they could identify with out there, and you could win, I don't have to win but 10% of them and move them to my column, because I'm running more as an individual than a party, because I come from there. When you do that, that's a 20% swing That's a Democratic governor of Texas. That's Bobby Cole was your next governor. And I thought, man, if you could do that, if you could capture the flag of the state and make it blue, that would put an end to a lot of this MAGA nonsense. That's what I'm gonna call it. That's the kindest term I can use. The MAGA nonsense that's going on out there. We can have differences of opinion, but there's certain things with that movement that I think are cruel, unconstitutional, and just anti-American, anti-constitutional.
Right. And well, people see themselves in you. Like you said, you're just a regular person, hard worker, supporting his family and creating a dream. People see yourself in, and you can relate to a lot of people. I think that's what sets you apart in that degree. So you answered my question as far as why you chose the governorship, but was that the only focus? You didn't even look at anything else? You were straight to governor, or were there any other positions that you looked in?
But I got to thinking, I'm from East Texas, I'm from Wood County, Texas. And I'm here to tell you, it's just about as red as it gets out there. And I said, well, if lightning was gonna strike, and this sounds crazy, I think it'd be easier to win governor than it would to be U.S. rep in my district. But so I just said, if you're swinging for the fences, let's take a cut for the biggest one. And I hear people all the time, and I've said it, you hear it all the time, that my politicians or my representative doesn't represent me, doesn't understand me, doesn't listen to me, won't come back and see me.
They don't even get out there.
And I tell people, stop sending another lawyer or another retired banker, financier, CEO, or another generational politician to represent you, because the status quo is not getting what you want here in Texas.
Right.
Especially as a working person, and we're all working people.
Right.
And I say, start sending people who help other people, serve other people, and fix things.
Right.
Doctors and nurses and waitresses and carpenters and farmers. And when you do that, I promise you, your government will start to respond to you and start to resemble more of your life. And it will start to advocate for your kind of life instead of just the elites in the world, the billionaires and the big corporations. And that's what I say. We need to recenter the priority of this government. And the investment needs to be put into us. And when that investment goes into us, we're not hoarding it.
Right.
They're hoarding money up there.
Absolutely.
You invest in us, we're going to spend money. So it's going to radiate out. And so the big corporations and the billionaires will remain billionaires, and they'll remain powerful. They just won't be obscenely powerful and rich. And I tell people this, you've heard your whole life that it's in the Constitution. The people are the government is the people. Well, here's the other side of that coin. The people are the economy. The workers are the economy. And the economy is the people. So it's your government and it's your economy. Take it back. And we've allowed people to convince us that we have no say-so in it and control over it. And it's absolutely not true.
Right. We've been programmed to believe a certain way. And some people have really taken the opportunity to deconstruct from a lot of things, but some people haven't. It's very clear to see the difference. That we've been programmed to believe that, you know, what we were talking about before, that everyday people aren't supposed to be in office. They're not meant to be in office. They're not good enough. You don't have enough experience.
Right.
And experience is something, I hear that word thrown around a lot on my videos when I started making them. And across the board, people were comparing candidates based on their experience. And to which that I say, well, one, look who we have at the top. Tell me again about that experience. And that doesn't mean our president doesn't need experience. It just means that we need people of character. Let's look at their character. Let's see what they've been doing and how that everyday life experience can carry over into that position, because skills can be learned, right? But we need someone who's going to go in there and work for us and come out and talk to us and listen to us and go do those things, fight for us. So that's what I've been talking to people about when it comes to experience. They're everyday working people that are already doing the work for the position that they need, and why we've seen such a jump of union workers coming out and running these races, and that's what we need.
Well, that's in all reality, even if you're a rep or a state senator or anybody that's in current government, these jobs are very few. So I'm just telling you, there's been a lot of propaganda spent in trying to convince us that everyday ordinary people can't run their own government. And it's an absolute lie, because England was the most powerful empire in the world. And nobody had stood against them and been able to throw off those yokes that they had put on everybody. And you did it. A bunch of agrarian farmers and blacksmiths and carpenters wrestled their freedom away from an empire that was the most powerful empire in the world and wrote a constitution that still and had the foresight to make it a living constitution and initially set us on the path that 250 years later, we're still a democratic representative government. And so those people didn't know anything other than hammers and shovels and nails, but yet they formed the best example of a democracy the world's ever known. Yeah. So quit falling for that stuff that you don't have the experience.
Right. Well, and to think that currently with the Republicans and how corrupt that they are, to think that they're actually running anything is also a lie. It's their donors. It's corporate. It's running our politics. They don't actually know what they're doing. They're being told by their higher up, their donors.
And look at their re-election campaigns and their coffers. They're stuffed with millions of dollars put there by billionaires.
A big thing when I was making the governor videos is letting people know that the governor actually has a lot less power than people think, right? So people get confused, especially in Texas, that they think that the governor is like our president, our lieutenant governor is the vice president. And it's not like that in Texas, right? Our lieutenant governor actually has more power. What would you say is something most people don't know that the governor actually does do and the power that he has?
I don't know if it's less power than lieutenant governor. It's a different kind of power because a governor can veto anything that comes across his desk. He has line item veto. He can call special sessions and he has some executive authority that he can wield. There's several things the governor can do, especially when bad legislation and bad policy is coming out of our legislature. And there has been some. So if you'd had a Democratic governor the past 2 terms, Texas would look vastly different. And so that's how important a governor is. Even if you had Dan Patrick still as a lieutenant governor, if you had a Democratic governor, Texas would be vastly different than it is now. But with that being said, don't ever underestimate what leadership means and integrity. And so as the highest office, the most visible office in the land, there's a lot of power that comes with that. And yielded the right way, it can be used for the great benefit to a lot of people. You can, nationally, you can form policy to a degree because let's not forget, we're from the great state of Texas. It's the second biggest economy in the nation. I don't know why we're not the biggest, but we're not the biggest yet.
No, we're not.
That's what my goal would be if I became governor. But as the second biggest economy, you could have a big voice on women's reproductive rights, big voice on our immigration policy in this state, and you could have a big voice in our health care. And yet our governor has a big voice in that, but it's to undercut everything I just said. And so that's how important the position of governor is nationally. And so it's important to have the right governor display the right kind of leadership and bring the right kind of values to the forefront, even though a governor has nothing to do with the national immigration policy. But because of the power he represents as the people of Texas, he would have great influence in the direction of the country. And as you can see, Greg Abbott's influence has a lot of effect. And to us as Democrats, a lot of bad effect. And I'll sum it up like this. Everything Abbott's approved that the Republican administration, the Republican legislature put out has generated, especially in the last 10 years, are long-term economic losers for this state. Our education is not invested in, not public education. They're underfunding our public education, and they're trying to undermine it to fail so they can try to profitize it. And I'm here to tell you, when they go to profitize, as soon as your community or your kid is not profitable, they won't be served. That's a long-term loser for this state because you got to have a highly educated workforce across all segments, no matter who you are, where you live, or what you believe. You got to be educated. And when you're not doing that, when you're underfunding it, it's leaving us short. Long-term, that's a loser. Healthcare policy. Half our counties in this state are considered healthcare deserts. People are dying because of that. Our healthcare policy towards women and our abortion policy for no exceptions for rape and incest, no exceptions except for when the life of the mother is at risk. That's a very dangerous game decided by some stuffed shirts down in Austin trying to get in your doctor's office.
Yep.
And the game is, how close are we going to allow that woman to get to death before that doctor in that hospital feels safe that they can save her life without being sued or thrown in jail?
Right.
And I'm here to tell you that game is a life and death game, and some people are losing their life over it.
Right. And even the child, which is who they claim to care most about.
And the families that are left behind by a mother who dies from a bad child pregnancy experience. That's a long-term loser for the state, economic loser. Because I've talked to young families and young women that are choosing not to have any more kids because they don't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
Some young women are choosing to leave the state to start a life somewhere else.
Yep.
So we're losing our most valuable asset, our youth, because of this policy.
Yep.
Teachers. I believe one of the reasons teachers are so underpaid in this state is because predominantly, historically, most teachers are women. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're paid amongst the bottom in the nation as far as a profession, teachers. Long-term loser for this state. And then our immigration policy. There's no way Texas will ever become the biggest economy in the nation, nor remain the second biggest economy without immigration. The Latino community contributes $700 billion a year to the Texas economy. Texas economy is $2.7 trillion. They're a full quarter of the economy. And here's what's more important, the growth of our GDP every year, the past several years, half of it is responsible, put there by the Latino community. So to villainize these people and criminalize them and to marginalize these communities is a long-term economic loser. So that's just what our education, our healthcare policy, and our immigration policy, which is championed by this governor and this Republican rule of this state, is long-term economic losers for the future of Texans and all Texans. And it's going to affect your pocketbook. It's going to affect opportunities for your kids. It's going to end up affecting where you can live and how you can live your life in this state.
Absolutely.
I think I've got a Take It Back agenda, and I believe I'm the only one running for governor that has laid out what my agenda is, trying to get Texas back on track. It's called Take It Back agenda.
Right.
And education, what I want to do is, this is simple. We're the second biggest, you're going to hear me say it over and over again. We're the second biggest economy in this nation. Billions of dollars are flowing into this place.
And for the record, who's the first?
California.
Yep.
So billions of dollars are flowing in here, but yet we can't seem to fund our education.
Yep.
Well, that's a choice. That's on purpose.
That's a choice.
And it's been that way. He's held our entire public education hostage to force this school voucher system down our throat.
And he's diverting. There's so many diversions to look away from the actual problem.
Yes.
Let's do this, but nothing. The actual problem is the funding.
Well, when I'm governor, I'm going to propose a budget that we have student funding at the national average. Teacher pay will be at the national average. Not that that's good enough for the state of Texas, but it's so much better than where we're at now.
We got to start somewhere.
So we got to get it there, and then every subsequent budget, hopefully we have leadership that wants to move us further and further up, because Texas doesn't need to be at the bottom. We need to be at the top.
Right.
Our
Living
kids
could also
deserve that.
go down. Then we could be more even with pay, but also lowering the cost of living, and we could be more balanced.
Well, property taxes is another thing that's, the state hadn't been paying their fair share. They've been hoarding money just like the billionaires and the big corporations. A lot of people don't know it, but the state government's responsible for a certain amount of our education budget, unless they collect enough property taxes that we fill the entire bucket. Then they don't have to put any money into it, the state. In fact, if they overfill the bucket, the state can take it and put it in a general fund or a rainy day fund. And those are both about $30 billion apiece. So there's been money to spend on education, and property taxes and valuations are out of control. And so everybody that works hard for a living who's already strapped is bearing the entire burden of our education system and what it costs.
And allegedly they're going to fix the property tax issue, which they haven't done in over 30 years, but now we're going to fix it.
Well, we could make it much more fair and much more representative and spread that responsibility out more effectively.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff they can do, and the Land Commission maybe look at redoing some oil and gas royalty adjustments, find more money there. We have a lot of land leases here in the state. I don't know where they're at, but I'm assuming they're probably behind the times. We could charge more for that. Here's another thing is that our appraisal process in this state needs to be reformed.
Yep.
Residential property owners and landowners pay top dollar on their evaluations on their houses and their land. Meanwhile, big industry and big corp pay pennies on the dollar in evaluations on what those properties are actually worth. They're not carrying their fair share. There's billions of dollars that they skip out on every year because their evaluations aren't fair. And so there's money to be made there. There's $1 billion in this school voucher. As soon as I'm governor, I'm gonna move to rescind that and put that money back into public schools. So there's $1 billion more. I propose legalizing marijuana in this state. Regulate it, make sure it's safe, sell it where not near school, just like alcohol, 21 to use. But that revenue within a few years could be up to $2 billion a year in tax revenue to put in property tax relief. If you're relieving property taxes, by proxy, you're helping with school finance. And also, we could easily see savings of $300 million to $500 million every year in judicial court costs and law enforcement costs, prosecuting and jailing misdemeanor marijuana infractions in this state. So you're looking at $2.5 billion right there we could put towards property tax relief. And the last thing I'll say about on education on my Take It Back agenda, I want to hire 25,000 new teachers in this state. And we need to pay them like the professionals they are. So they want to invest themselves as they invest in our kids and continue and build a career in education in the state. We have roughly 25% of our teachers turn over every year. That's not good for anybody.
It's not.
And so we need to fix that. And once we fix that and we get teachers that want to invest in the job, invest in our kids, that's a situation that the state of Texas wants to invest. And that's what I'm going to try to do.
When teachers don't have to work 2 extra jobs to maintain their cost of living,
Right.
because it's not paying, their regular job that they're doing full time isn't paying enough, it's going to be easy to get teachers in there. That's not an issue. There's plenty of people who want to be a teacher.
And it's not a judgment on them at all. They're hustling, trying to figure out, and I've been there, but when you're tired,
Right.
you're not always at your best. Imagine if a teacher could come and go to work and one job should be enough to pay their bills and build a life on.
Right.
Think how much more they bring to the classroom if they're not stressed out and tired from trying to make ends meet all the time. Constant struggle. A lot of people in Texas are that way, and that's what I want. We don't have to live this way.
Yeah.
We don't.
They make us live this way.
We shouldn't feel fortunate just to survive in this state.
Right.
We need to demand that we can thrive in this state.
Right.
Everybody, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people in this state that are super rich and super powerful who are thriving. They've never been richer and they've never been more powerful than they are right now in history. Adjusted to inflation, the rich have never been richer.
You spoke a little bit about some of these things. One of the things that I think really makes you stand out in the governor campaign is that on your website, you have everything laid out. Every policy, how you feel about immigration, not just healthcare, but women's reproductive rights, gun control. You have it all laid out there. And in the comment section of my videos, people have recognized that and said, wow, he has everything. You're very progressive. You're very open about how progressive you are. And again, I just think that really sets you apart. So whereas some other candidates, it's more of a strategy to not put as much out there, leave a little bit more curiosity maybe, or question.
Maybe they're moving towards the general, but
Maybe.
to me,
What made you want to just lay it all out there?
I'm going to run on my values. It's the only way I know to run. And when people ask me what I believe, I'm going to tell them. I was in the fire department and I promoted in the promotional books. A lot of it was about managing people and building communication skills and learning how to build bridges on 2 different sides of an issue where you could find common ground. And there are a few things that are mantras that I took from that none of us is as smart as all of us, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's the way I look at everything. And that's the way I think our state needs to be.
Yep.
We can't just help the strongest and most powerful among us
Right.
and leave everybody else behind.
Right.
Fundamentally, that's a flawed state. And we have a flawed state right now because we're leaving people behind.
Right.
And we don't have to.
We don't.
And so if you knew my mother, you would know the way I feel about women. I'm
Mama's
a girl
boy.
dad and a mama's boy, but you will understand why I advocate for women the way I do. They deserve every right that a man has. They deserve every opportunity a man gets, and they deserve to be paid the same amount doing the same job. And so it's just about, I'm big on respect. And you pay, not only do you have respect, but you pay respect. And so I can sort of sum up, you can take those two things that I talked about, far as we don't leave anybody behind and we pay respect where it should be paid. You can almost figure out where I'm going to fall on any issue just from those two perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm not going to run and be somebody I'm not.
Thank you for that. It's great to just lay it out on the table and we really know who you are and how you tend to represent us. That's a big deal right now. A lot of questions from my comments. People want to know about gun reform, women's reproductive rights, and immigration. How do they feel about ICE? How do they feel about gun reform? And how do they feel about women's reproductive rights? Hear about healthcare, but specifically women's. So those are like 3 things that pop up in my comments. Where do they stand on those things? And you have clearly laid that out on your page already. That's been really helpful.
As far as healthcare goes, just to give a little snippet of what I believe, you've heard all your life, what's a life worth? Well, I'm here to tell you, as far as healthcare in this state, you'd be surprised how cheap life is by the policies of this state. Because of the way we run healthcare, people are dying because of it. And at some point, it's a moral issue with me. You're either investing and trying to save lives, or you're de-investing and costing lives. And that's what we're doing. And then far as ICE, I believe the organization is corrupt. It's a chaos machine. It's violating constitutional rights. Any trust that they may have had at one time, reputation, is demolished. We're going to have to live with it with this current administration, but at some point it needs to be dissolved. Reason being is that there is no trust within it. It's totally corrupt.
Right.
And it's run by corrupt people. And so whether we need that service in the future or it can be dressed with a different type of organization, with a different type of leadership, we can figure that out later.
Yeah.
But ICE is something that this country doesn't need in its current form.
Nope.
Gun reform. I'm a farmer. I've had guns my whole life.
Right. Republicans are so scared we're going to take their guns away. And
I
that's
know.
not what we're trying to take them away from crazy people.
Well, when I was a kid, this goes back all the way back to the early 80s, that there were guys in black helicopters that were going to land and come and take your guns. And I had this image of ICE that actually happened in Chicago. They had the helicopters in that hotel and they were rappelling down and going in windows and grabbing people. Here's your black helicopters and your guys in black suits.
But they're okay with them taking their
Well,
brown people away, not
I'm
their
just saying,
guns.
we're all, when that starts to happen, we all should be cautious and take note of that.
Absolutely.
Because that's a violation of our constitutional rights and it's a vast overreach. But far as guns, common sense gun laws, I think we need to look at red flag laws. As far as semi-automatic rifles,
Right.
I'd like to raise that age to 21 before you can buy. And I know we have a constitutional carry in this state, and in practicality, it seems like it'd be okay, but you got to get a driver's license before we can drive a car. There needs to be a basic knowledge that you can operate it safely. I had no problem when you had to go get a license, because that's going to teach you how to operate it safely, how to store it safely, and also when you're going to mind the thought track of what is self-defense and when it's not self-defense. And if you're trying to defend somebody else, when you acquire a target, you need to see what's behind that target. And I think those are things everybody should hear before they start carrying a gun around.
Yeah.
And I would say I don't have any problem with open carry. I wish we would go back to licenses. Other than that, I don't want to take anybody's gun. I don't want anybody to come get my gun.
Right. Nobody
So
wants it.
I think it's free. Here's what the deal is. A lot of this stuff I'm talking about, even Republicans agree with a lot of it. There's a lot of stuff that 60 to 80% of Texans want, but yet we cannot seem to get it passed. I'm here to tell you the first thing I want to do when I get in there, I will call, there's at least 4 or 5 of them. They center around healthcare, education, and gun rights and maybe one or two here or there. But there's at least 4 or 5 that I tell you one I want to do. Well, let me finish this thought before I get. There's at least 4 or 5 that Texans want passed. And if we can't pass them in the legislature, I want to start pressuring the legislature to let them be referendums so the people of the state can vote on it. And the first one I can think of is Trump, as recently as August 25, said that abortion should be an issue that's left up to the states. Well, let me tell you something. To me, a state is nothing if it is not anything if it's not the people that live within the state. So that means the people should have a voice in it. And so I will push for a referendum from day one on abortion and women's bodily autonomy in this state from day one. And let's have a vote on it, and we'll live with what may come over that vote. But people should be heard on that.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I try to be open book, and I try to be as fair as I can, and I just think people should finally start getting some of these, I'm going to try to say it a different way. This state leadership, our Republican governance, has excelled at division and distraction and fear-mongering, and they haven't solved any problems. If anything, they've inflamed them. Immigration's one of them. There was a national bill that Republicans and Democrats agreed upon, and Trump had them shoot it down because it took away an issue that he was going to win the election on. And he was right. Meanwhile, we have to deal with the fallout. But they don't solve real problems in this state. And that's what, I mean, from day one as governor, what I want to do is prove that we can disagree on stuff without tearing each other apart. But we can absolutely come together and start fixing the problems that face this state, because it's in all our best interest. And if we do that, we're never going to do that with Greg Abbott being governor. And so leadership matters.
My next thought was, so I think you mentioned before, I think you were the first ones to jump into the governor race.
I think I was the first.
So you've been in it the longest, and you have traveled. You have been all over the place, talking to people and getting your name out there. What, in these conversations that you're having with people, what is an overall recurring concern or concerns of the people that you're talking to, whether they're Democrat or Republican?
Well, it's some people, you talked about it earlier, a lot of people are getting involved with politics that hadn't been involved because they don't like the direction it's going. But a lot of people have concerns over just the political environment and the harsh rhetoric around it, and everything's combative and everybody wants to try to villainize the other. And they want to, when you have a reality star as your leader, and what reality shows thrive on, drama and chaos. You shouldn't be shocked when your political system becomes about chaos and drama. And I'm tired of it, and they talk about being tired of it. Politics is a big part, well, governance is a big part of our life, but politics shouldn't take such an overwhelming, it's distorting our life. And I hear a lot of that. And then there's the usual suspects, as I say. Our education system, hospitals, our healthcare system, affordability. And to me, and I hadn't even mentioned it yet, this is what I think is one of the biggest crises facing our state: home ownership and being able to pay for a home. That's not happening right now.
No, it's not.
As short a time, although time gets to be more and more of 2008, wasn't that long ago. Some people, it seems like it. If you're younger, the older you are, it doesn't seem very long ago. The average age of the first-time home buyer was 30 years old. That seemed appropriate. It's been a little lower at times, but that seemed appropriate. Fast forward to today, it's 41. And it's
30-year-olds are having to live with their parents.
That's right.
Move back in with their parents. They can't afford.
You used to could buy a home and have it paid for by the time you were 50. That changes your life. You get a home paid for, boy, you can do a lot more things as you get older. You can invest more in your kids. You can invest more into maybe having a rental property. You can invest more in your retirement. It just limits you when you can't buy a home until you're 41. It just pushes that out 10 more years. And so that's...
Middle class was what you looked forward to getting to. And now our used to be middle class is low class. You know, it's not the same anymore. We're struggling.
Home prices are so high. And so people can't afford the down payment or get into one until they're 41, but yet they're still high. And so Trump, somebody said, how are people going to pay for these homes? Well, let's come up with a 50-year mortgage. Do the math on that. That's 91 before you get it paid for. Life expectancy isn't much more than the early 70s. So if you're average and you die at that point, you don't have any equity in your home. Your kids don't want it because they can't pay for it.
Yep.
And so when that's the state of our state and our nation, the middle class is on the verge of not being able to exist. And so this is an existential threat to every working class person in the state, because if you can't buy a home and eventually pay for it, there is no middle class.
There isn't. There's no American dream at this point, really.
And so we've got to fix that. And that's what I hear out on the campaign trail.
Yep.
All those things.
Well, I'll close with, I have two more questions. One being, so while out on the campaign trail, are there any really memorable moment or moments from the campaign that have really impacted you?
Well, I really didn't. I realized it was an issue, but I've had young women come up to me and they're just, it's an overwhelming, I guess, issue in their life about women's bodily autonomy in this state. And I didn't really put two and two together that women and families who want to have more kids are not having more kids because of the policy in this. And so that really hit home because I'm at a point in my life, we're not having any more kids.
Right.
And that just,
There's teenagers who are making a parent bring those little young girls to come and talk to him because they want to have that conversation with him and say, what are you going to do to help me?
there's a lot of young women in the state that feel helpless.
Yep.
And I'm here to tell you, that's as high of an agenda and issue on my plate as any of them. Because I've got daughters, I got a granddaughter. You shouldn't feel like you're second class or that your life is regulated in some way. And we got to fix that. And I would say that would be the biggest surprise, other than people coming up and going, oh, I love your stuff, I watch it all the time. You know, that you're a celebrity. Or that's not a big deal, but
Right.
I'm always uncomfortable
You
with
just said
that.
you weren't as known before, and now people know you.
A little bit. And so I just try to tell people, listen, I'm nothing special. The only thing I'm doing that you're not doing is maybe I've got a bigger platform, because
Absolutely.
I want to advocate for you. I want to advocate for working people. I want to advocate for anybody that feels like they're the underdog. And because that's pretty much been the way I've lived my life. I've always felt like I've had to fight and scrape for every bit of it. And I just think every underdog deserves somebody in their corner.
Absolutely.
You know.
And you give people a sense of hope, and Lord knows we need that. So their excitement about you is really more of just a sense of hope that you bring to them, because there's so many people that feel hopeless. So to find whatever that is that gives them that sense of hope, whether that be you, it's just a true gift. You're giving that to people.
And I'm just telling you, there's an old saying, it's the size of the fight in the dog. But I'm going to add to that. When you have something that's really worth fighting for, it don't matter the size of the dog. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's going to fuel everything you bring to the table. And so
You just need the green light.
I'm
Put your mind to it.
I'm just telling you, that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what keeps us going down the road, is that I want to have that fight.
So my last question is, is there anything that maybe I haven't mentioned, or just anything you want people to know? When people see your name on the ballot, when they show up there, what do you want them to remember when they see your name?
So you got to vote for somebody you can trust. And I'm here to tell you, I was raised by working class grandparents that came up during the Great Depression, fought and sacrificed in World War II. They were frugal but yet fair. They were as true as the day is long. And my parents, they were working class. My mother put herself through nursing school at night and on the weekends on her own so that she could become a registered nurse. And my dad always made a living with his hands and his back. And he was a union guy. My grandparents were union. What I'm saying is everything I've said on this camera and said to you, and people don't know this, everybody has this. My parents and grandparents are here with me right now. And you don't see them, but you hear them when I speak.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm telling you, is that I'm fighting to uphold my good family name they gave me.
Yep.
And to demonstrate the character and integrity they put in me.
Yeah.
And then my kids, just like you talked about your kids, I'm doing it so I don't let them down, and that I can pass everything that was given to me on to them.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm fighting for me and mine, so you can know that I'll fight for you and yours, because we have that commonality. And then you got to vote for somebody that can actually beat Greg Abbott.
Yep, there's that.
And I'm here to tell you, I'm the only candidate in this race that can beat him. I believe that as sure as I'm sitting here. He wins every one of his races out in rural Texas.
Yep.
I'm from rural Texas. I'm a farmer. I'm a retired firefighter. I have a rural working class story. And like I told you earlier, all I got to do is win 10%. And I'm here to tell you, I can win votes out there. I can win more than 10%. I can run away with this thing. But I've got to get past the primary.
Right.
And so we got a couple of more days of early voting, actually today and tomorrow, and then March 3rd.
Yep.
And that's going to tell the tale.
Yep.
I know I'm the underdog, but as I say, every underdog has their day.
Yep.
So we're going to see. But I can build the coalition, young and old, urban and rural, among Democrats, independents, and Republicans who simply had enough of this chaos and mayhem. And I can bring them together. I can inspire them. You talked about we need people that can bring hope. I can inspire them, and I can bring the kind of wind to this state that we so desperately need. Not just Democrat, but working people who care about their families. I want to center this government back around working families, and it hasn't been. And that's as simple as I can say it. We need to be at the center of it. Everything else is on the periphery. And then whatever it takes to put us at the center, healthcare, education, immigration, a number of other things will fall into place when you're taking care of working people.
I agree. Well, thank you so much.
That's the end of our broadcast.
I'm so thankful that you are out here fighting for us. You are a wonderful candidate. Again, so many people see themselves in you. You're very relatable. You really just put yourself out there. You're such a good human, especially as a white male. That's a big thing right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just running as a good human being that wants.
That's what we need.
I just want to fight for people and fight for people that are written off, ignored, and taken advantage of. So.
Well, thank you. And Kim, can I ask you one question? What's it like being the wife of a politician who wasn't a politician before?
I'm a public servant.
I don't like the word politician. Public servant, running a campaign, just jumped into it. It wasn't something that you guys necessarily initially planned for. So what has it been like in this process?
It has been very exciting.
You want to scoot over here so you can be on camera? Come on, you can get your dose.
Yeah, I've always said that his God-given talent is coaching. And there's going to be kids that he has coached that will, when they see me talking about this, it gets them right here. He leads by example. He has a way of showing you and explaining to you in a way that makes you understand and to get that job done. So to me, when he says, I'm going to run for governor, I'm like, what? But
Makes sense.
his God-given gift of coaching, and what are you doing as a governor if not
You're
coaching,
leading and
inspiring people to be better and put their best foot forward and to learn and just get out there and continue what you're doing. Be able to inform people and get people inspired to just be better at whatever it is that they're doing. So for me, I was like, what? But when he talks about travel, we're farmers. We don't travel because the cows are always getting out or whatever. But we've gotten to travel, and we've made some really wonderful friendships with people that, regardless of how this turns out, these people are like, I get emotional.
Family.
They're family, and you really care about people.
Right.
So
it becomes very personal.
It does.
I've sat here and just talked to y'all. I want to come visit you. I just want to be your friend. I want to come have coffee with you on your farm one day. It makes it so real. And no matter what happens, even outside of that, I still just want to come get to know you. The relationships that you make, it just really takes it to another level.
Well,
We've made great friends, and some people are so poetic in how they explain friendships that are made. I'm not a poetic person. I'm a hugger. But I feel deeply. And so when he tells me that this is what he wants to do, I believe that if there's anybody that can do it, he says if lightning, it's going to strike this guy. And he's going to be the one that's
She's going to run the other way.
No,
make sure the policy's paid up.
He can get it done. So he inspires people. He makes people feel. So I always say if I could get him in front of all these millions of people, we would have all these millions of people voting for him. It's just it's a long way to drive.
It's a lot.
And hit as many people as you can.
Texas is so big.
I always try to, and what she's saying is, always try to boil things down to its most simplistic expression. And what she said there is that I want to bring people together. And we've got a bunch of politicians. All they want to do is
Divide.
And we've got a lot of dividers. And we need people that want to bring people together. And I'm going to go ahead and declare I'm on the together side. So